Welcome to Cowan Ash, welcome to Spain, welcome to the launch of the new Tiger Sport 660, which is a brand new bike for 2026. The big talking point for most people is going to be the influx of power, because we're now up to 94, 95 HP, depending on how you want to measure it, which is a big jump from the 80 that it had before. Now, the reason Triumph can't go any higher is because it still has to be A2 compliant. So if you've got an A2 license, you can restrict this bike down via your Triumph dealer to be A2 compliant. To give you some facts and figures, we've gone from 80 to 94 HP or 81 to 95 PS. The red line has jumped up from 10,250 to 12,650, which is a massive jump. In terms of peak power, that's now at 11,250. It was at 10,250. And torque used to be at 6,250, is now jumped up to 8,250. So essentially, this new motor is producing more torque, more power, revving more, revving higher, and all that is higher up in the rev range. Now, before you get a little bit carried away, Triumph claim that 80% of that torque is from just over 3,000 RPM. Now, the way they've done that is essentially the old engine had a single throttle body. This has got 3 throttle bodies. It's got a revised cylinder head. So they've changed the way the fuel and air comes into the bike with a different airbox also. That's given it more fuel, given it more air, gives it more power. We've increased the compression, we've changed the cylinder head, and obviously as the exhaust gases leave, we've had to revise the exhaust. So that's a big step up in power. As I say, 17%. If you can imagine that on your sports bike, that's a big jump. Rider aids, as they were before, 3 rider modes, IMU, which means cornering traction control, and cornering ABS. You can turn the cornering traction control off, but you can't put those rider aids onto the new model simply because we've got more power and more torque, and the bike weighs 4 or 5 kilograms more. So all those rider aids would have to be recalibrated. The frontal area is slightly different. We've got a little bit more wind protection. It's a little bit different on design. We've still got the manually adjustable screen. We've got cruise control as standard, heated grips are optional. The fuel tank goes up in capacity, so that's gone from 17.2 litres to 18.6. Seat height remains at 835. In terms of chassis and suspension, shower on the front, shower on the back, with a nice, neat little remote preload and rebound adjustment on the rear. So we've had an extensive day testing here in southern Spain in absolute perfect condition. What really stands out as a bit of a surprise for me is how good an entry-level sports tourer can be. Triumph label this entry-level sports touring. Obviously they make the 660 and they make 100 and they make bigger sports touring adventure bikes. This one obviously with a 17-inch front wheel. It's amazing that an entry-level sports touring bike can be this good for that price. It's just over £9,000 in the UK. It's only got 95 horsepower, but it feels a lot more. This is a real sports tourer, even though Triumph label it as entry level. We're down in southern Spain and I would quite happily ride this bike all the way back to the UK. It's got the power, it's got the torque, and it's got the comfort. I could even fit some genuine accessory panniers and top box and carry loads of luggage in comfort. I think previously on the old bike, which I have mentioned before, is that when you had 80 horsepower, once you fitted luggage and a pillion, you were kind of asking a lot of 80 horsepower. When you were coming out of first gear, second gear hairpins, accelerating uphill or on fast motorway speeds, then you were asking a lot of the 80 horsepower engine. But now with 95 horsepower, that more revs and more torque, it's more fun, more enjoyable, and more of a real world sports touring adventure bike. Riding it here in southern Spain, we've not done massive mileage. We've not sat on the freeway for hours and hours, but it feels comfortable. The fuel tank is a little bigger, which gives you a little bit more range, but obviously that Revia, more powerful engine uses a little bit more fuel, so it's kind of in the middle. Comfort-wise, not a problem. I would quite happily turn on this all the way back to the UK. In terms of enjoyment, handling and fun, that is where it really stands out. This engine is so strong, so powerful, so enjoyable to rev, and sounds epic. I think with the previous bike, you rode it to a certain level. So you would, okay, it's an entry-level sports tourer, and then you would have a spirited ride and you would enjoy riding it. But now you've got more power, more over rev. The quick shifter is a standard. You almost have this racy engine in a sports touring chassis, which allows you to have more fun and push on a little bit more. There are limitations. You are limited by the chassis and obviously it's been built to a price, because when you start pushing the handling, you do find limitations. Personally, I've had to add a little bit of preload to the rear just to stop the travel through the rear suspension. I'd want to change the front if I was riding it really hard. I'd want to change the rubber. These Michelin Road 5 tyres are excellent all-round tyres, and I know they're going to last long, and I know they're pretty good in the wet, but something a little bit grippier would just give me a little bit more confidence and the ability to rail it a little bit harder. And again, the Nissin brakes are really good, but there was a few times where I was barreling up to a first, second gear hairpin in fourth and fifth, coming down that quick shifter, down, 8,000, 9,000 RPM, and I wanted a little bit more. I got to a stage where I was almost riding it like a big supermoto and really trying to rail it and really trying to ride it hard. And I had to kind of take a step back and reflect and go, this is an entry-level sports tourer for 9 grand. It's not a supermoto, even though the engine kind of pokes you and goes, come on, ride a little bit harder, rev a little bit more, hold on to that gear a little bit longer. When you do that, and you ride it outside that design window, there's a few little issues with the suspension. It's a little bit soft. It needs a little bit more control. It's not reacting quick enough, but I'm kind of riding it in the top 2-3% of performance that not everybody's going to use. I think the big factor, or the big standout for me, is how enjoyable this engine is, how rewarding it is to ride, and how much fun and how enjoyable it is. And when I'm comparing it to supermotos or sports bikes, then yes, I can find faults. But when I compare it to the competition, that's going to be the interesting bit. Because to me, you've got the Tracer 7 and the Tracer 7 GT. You've got the Kawasaki Versys. You could throw in the V-Strom, even though that's got a 19-inch front wheel, not a 17-inch front wheel. And when you compare it to those bikes, this engine, this power, this torque, this much fun, this response, this noise, that's scoring really highly. For me, above the competition. It's backed up by excellent rider aids, that cornering ABS and cornering traction control that you can switch off at a standstill. Again, it's scoring really high above the competition. Handling, not too sure, because when I rode the Tracer 7 and Tracer 7 GT on Bridgestones, I think it was in Spain, I was having a proper dangerous riding competition and really enjoying that bike. That might be a little bit different. But what we can say is, in isolation, what a great, fun, enjoyable entry-level sports tourer. In fact, it's so good, I don't want to put the word entry-level. I don't think it is. Yes, it's accessible for new riders, but don't be put off by the fact it's only a 660. It's a 95 horsepower sports touring adventure styled bike that's comfortable, that I would quite happily ride all the way back to the UK. And you can't say that about many sports touring bikes for just over 9 grand.